Hello, good day.
Welcome back to the Two Guys Podcast. My name is Josh.
And my name is Ryan. I realized that we didn't introduce ourselves last time. Would you like to go first, Josh? We just give a little, give your name and then a little bit of information about yourself, I guess.
Okay, I was going to take a sip of this delicious tea, but I guess that can wait. As I've said before, my name is Josh, and I've completely forgotten what else I was supposed to say. Can you please remind me?
I was just saying a little bit of information about yourself, so what you do in your pastimes and stuff.
Oh, yeah. Well, as I'm sure was revealed in the last one, I enjoy playing video games. It's possibly one of my favorite hobbies. I used to act, and that's about it.
Great.
I don't have a whole lot
Great.
of new stuff.
So my name's Ryan, and I basically went to film school for about. Oh yeah, watch out! The tea's hot.
That's hot.
The tea just came out of the kettle. My name's Ryan. I went to film school for about 4 years. I have a degree in filmmaking. I'm not actually using it because I'm working at something that's totally separate from that, but that's another thing. Winnipeg just doesn't have a big film industry, and I haven't moved to anywhere like Vancouver or Toronto or anything. And yeah, I enjoy going to the gym in my pastime and everything. In any case, we apologize for what happened on the last podcast, how it just ended abruptly because the SD card ran out of power. So that's kind of what happened there. But
SD ran out of power, eh? The SD ran out of power, eh?
Did I say power?
You said power.
Oh, my bad. It ran out of space. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we were using a whole 1 gigabyte for our SD card. It was maybe a little too much space, but somehow it ran out anyways.
Yeah, well, I mean, audio doesn't use a lot of space, but yeah, we had a 1 gig SD card that originally came with this H4n that we're using. It originally came with it, and I guess I'd used it quite a bit for films in the past, so it actually ran out pretty quickly. Now I got a 16 gig in there, so it shouldn't run out anytime soon.
Yeah, it makes me very curious about what else was on that audio tape.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff.
I sure hope it's from your famous Batman flicks.
Oh no. Okay, let's get away from that.
Oh.
So today's podcast is brought to you by Milksteak. Go out and get your best milk steak at your finest grocer. They are delicious and they are great.
What the hell is a milk steak?
It's very similar to a jaw stroke.
What the hell is a jaw stroke?
Which is also what our podcast is bringing you today. Jaw stroke. Go get your jaw realigned for the stroke. It is perfect. Your orthodontist will really like it. So make sure that you go get your jaw stroke.
I'm sorry. How is that related to milk steak?
Okay, well, milk steak are delicious. I don't know how you don't know what milk steak is.
Please enlighten me.
It's a milk steak. I mean, how do you... Have you ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
You know the answer to that one.
Okay, well, that's your reason why you don't know what a milk steak is, because milk steak is fantastic.
Is that how this podcast is going to work? You're going to make a bunch of references that I don't know. It's going to be a very one-sided conversation, folks.
Yeah. In any case, milk steak brought to you by that. So go get your favorite milk steak at your favorite grocer. It is delicious, and we enjoy it very much, don't we, Josh?
Yeah, it's amazing. Speaking of amazing, what flavor did you say this tea was?
This tea that we have, it is sugar cookie and something like dancing fairies or something like that. I don't know.
Are you crazy sure? Because to me, it seriously tastes like hot water.
Yeah, well, that's because your sense of smell.
Maybe a bit with iron. A little bit of irony water.
His sense of smell is absolutely destroyed, as you probably might have heard on the last podcast. If you didn't, well... He doesn't really have much of a sense of smell, and I believe that just translates over to his sense of taste, because obviously it just goes hand in hand.
Honestly, the only thing I can really enjoy is like Skittles and whatever else is sweet, maybe savory.
This is sweet tea. It actually does taste really good. I am enjoying it.
Bowl hockey.
It tastes like sugar cookies, actually.
I'm pretty sure you have a heightened sense of taste or whatever. Like you... I can't be the only person that tastes this, and it's just like, oh, this is hot water.
This is not. We got tea bags in there. They've been sitting in there for about 10 minutes now.
Oh, I know, and I burnt my tongue in it much earlier. So, Ryan just assaulted his cat.
I did not.
He threw a projectile at him.
I threw my pen. Get away from there. My cat was trying to basically destroy some wool socks that we have here that were sitting on the ground.
He was trying to sabotage the podcast, and nothing is more important to Ryan than this second episode of a podcast we started tonight.
Well, we failed the first one, so we might as well fail the second.
Excuse me, that is not true. We did fine on that last one, except where the SD card ran out of power, which was your fault, if I may so boldly say.
Well, you can't because it's not mine. It's not my fault. I didn't know how much. I did not know how much space there was on there.
It's a 1 gigabyte SD card. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's not the case.
I tend to get very loud. I'm an excitable person.
We are not going to point blame, but if anyone's to blame, it is Richard.
And let's not get into that topic. It's not really a story. There's no story. I'm sorry for misleading you.
So, anyways, on the last podcast, we were talking about video games. I believe how we were just talking about how they enrich your life and everything. But you mentioned that you play a lot of video games. What is... so here, a question for you then. If you can list your top 5 video games that you have played, what would they be? Starting with number 5.
Oh, gee, that was a really loaded question.
Yeah, I know.
Oh gosh.
You can go ahead and take a few minutes to think about it. We'll just go into this.
Is this Jeopardy?
No, it's not Jeopardy. You just let's go ahead and think about them.
So starts with
I will. Okay, you don't have to speak it.
Well, maybe I want to.
Okay. I'm not really as much of a video game player. I do I used to play them quite a bit, and then I just for some reason stopped when I was about 18 or 19, and I'm now 26, turning 27 next month. So I haven't really played much video games since I was about 18. So that's nearly 10 years, and so in any case, I do play them once in a while, but not that often, and so that's why I'm asking Josh, because he knows his video games a lot more than I do. So okay, so you have your 5 listed.
I got 4.
You got 4. Okay, well let's hear your 4.
I'm under a lot of pressure.
Let's
right
hear
now.
your 4. It doesn't matter. I
don't even know if I have a number 1 on here. I just have 4. I don't know if I'd really rank them in some sort of order. I'm under a lot of pressure.
It's not pressure. Not at all.
All right, so possibly the first game I absolutely fell in love with was Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo.
Okay.
I never owned a Super Nintendo when I was younger. I remember going to my sister's place in Calgary, and the first thing I did was not greet my sister, who I hadn't seen in a long time, but go downstairs to play this video game because I was so enraptured by it. I really liked dinosaurs, and Yoshi was a dinosaur, if you can really call him that. Well, I would assume he's a dinosaur.
Well, that's naturally the sign of a good brother. You don't talk to your sister and you just go play a video game.
Yeah, of course. It's fairly normal. And
absolutely.
It wasn't this game, but I absolutely adored Yoshi, and when I was younger, I had him as an imaginary friend. Yes.
That's pretty sweet.
And I took him around everywhere I went. I remember...
Did you have a Yoshi toy, or was it just imaginary?
No, he was entirely imaginary. I used my imagination vividly. And I remember it was a little too vivid. It'd get to the point where I'd ask my mom if I could bring him along to the fireworks. She'd say no, and then I'd bring him anyway. It was just like, Mom's not going to tell me what to do.
That's kind of cute, and at the same time, kind of sad.
Well, I mean, I was a young chubby kid. I didn't have very many friends, and the friends I did have, it's getting a little bit too personal. Let's just say my friends weren't very good friends. Okay, so you want to know about the other ones? Okay. Yeah. I guess after that came Ratchet and Clank on the PlayStation 2. Okay. I played a bunch of PlayStation 1 games, but I never actually owned a PlayStation 1. I pretty much jumped from the NES, which stopped working entirely, to oh no, the cheese is gonna make me burp. To the PS2.
T shouldn't do that, but okay.
Well, there are a lot of things that shouldn't but do.
Well, that's fair. Okay, so Ratchet and Clank though, okay.
Yeah, it was a futuristic setting, and it was very different. I don't know really how to describe it. It was a third person action adventure game. It involved shooting and guns and whatnot, but it was very cartoony, and oh god, I don't even know how to describe it. It's something that you would have to look up online because it's got a lot of character, and I think the other ones kind of go away from its roots. The sequels to Ratchet and Clank, they very much get much more into action and a lot of like it's very high intense, very fast paced. But the very first one, it's a lot more like traditional gaming. Like you would only get like 3 or 4 hits, and like to yourself, and like the enemies, like they would take only like 2, 3, or maybe even 4 hits. And so like it was very simplistic, and so it really kind of brings you back to games like Super Mario.
Oh, basic games.
Yeah,
Like yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
It was kind of classic in its new design.
Okay.
Yeah. And the other two I have here are both first-person shooter games. There's Borderlands 2, and then Fallout 4. Like Fallout 4 is probably the most recent favorite. Like I always really enjoyed the the Fallout franchise, but
Did you play the first two?
Okay, maybe I didn't always enjoy
The franchise.
Yeah,
I haven't
yeah.
played the first two. I've played 3 and 4.
Yeah, thanks for calling me out on it.
Oh, no problem. That's what I do.
Well, I mean, I didn't really know Fallout until Fallout 3 came out on a console that I owned, which was Xbox 360, and that started my love for it. And like I enjoyed Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas immensely, but Fallout 4, it made it just somehow so much better. I think the big part of that was whenever I play video games that allow you to collect stuff, I collect nearly everything, and so
yeah.
it made pretty much everything in Fallout 4 valuable. So basically, you would just immediately turn into a kleptomaniac. And luckily, that hasn't transferred into my real life yet. But I mean, there's still time.
Yet, yeah. Yeah, like for me, it's a little bit different because I used to play video games a little bit more, and my top would be it's a little bit different for me because I think mine are based on nostalgia a little bit more because I don't play them as much.
Yeah.
Probably my number one. I mean, it sounds weird, but it would probably be The Legend of Dragoon. That one I remember I put like countless hours into that one when I was a kid. It was essentially like Final Fantasy, like Final Fantasy 7, 8, 9, all those ones.
Yeah.
It was essentially like that, and it had an addition system, which is like your attacking was you had to hit the X button or the square button at a certain point so that you can finish your attack. And it was an RPG, so I'm a big fan of RPGs. Mm-hmm. So, excuse me. So anyways, it was just a good game, good story and everything. Horrible translations, obviously, but no, it added character to the game.
Horrible translations are the absolute best.
Yeah, it actually added to the game. I remember there's a move that one of the guys he used in there. It was called Flurry of Sticks, and
that sounds so intimidating.
Yeah. Well, that was one of his attacks, and I think he attacked like a bunch of times. But and then I think on the bottom it actually labeled what the addition that you did was. So what it was called.
Yeah.
And the actual character said Flurry of Sticks, and then the actual text at the bottom of the screen, I think it said Furry of Sticks or Fairy of Sticks or something.
Furry of Sticks.
Yeah.
That's a terrifying thought.
And then I think another one, obviously, Final Fantasy VII, natural role-playing game.
I've actually never played Final Fantasy VII. I remember playing a demo of, I was about to say Panzer Dragoon. I've played that too. Legend of Dragoon, that's the one, right?
Yeah.
I remember playing a demo of that, but I never actually played Final Fantasy VII, and I heard a lot about it, and
yeah,
I think I remember the general consensus was that that was the best Final Fantasy game.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna say it was the best because everyone has their opinions. It was really fun though. I really enjoyed it. Sorry, I just shooing my cat away again. I did not throw a pen at him this time.
Yeah, he's so caring.
In any case. So Final Fantasy VII, that was probably, I would say that's probably number 2. I really like the storyline and everything on that. But also it's just nostalgia. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, all these games, like, especially since I'm not a big gamer now, it comes to the fact that nostalgia for me is what I enjoy a little bit more in the games. After that, I've really.
Number 3 is Hatman, right?
Yeah, so to you guys, I went on Steam and I purchased a bunch of games because they were very cheap.
This happened on several occasions.
This past, I think December, I went on Steam and I purchased a bunch of games because they had the winter sale or whatever it was. And I think I bought a bunch of games, and some of them were like 7 cents or like 2 cents or something like that. So I was like, why not get this game? So I don't know, I bought a bunch of games. I didn't even read any of them, but I saw that the reviews were like positive or whatever. And one of the games that I purchased was called Hatman. And I sent my friend here, Josh, a Snapchat, and I let him know that I bought these games. I was like, yeah, I was excited. I still haven't played any of them to date.
Yeah, he took a day off in order to play these games, and he did maybe a half hour. It's really incredible how how determined he is to get back into being a gamer.
And I don't. Regardless, though, yeah. So I bought this game called Hatman, and he made fun of me for it, and he continues to do that all the time
because it's hilarious. Like, never mind looking at the I would recommend looking up screenshots of the game. Like, I don't even know what the actual game looks like. But, like, the in-game cinematics are hilarious. But then just the fact that it's called Hatman.
In any case, it was a cheap game that I bought. And I sent him a Snapchat, and it was a bad picture. And he hasn't let me live that down ever since.
It's just... Hatman is so funny. Just that in concept.
Yeah. Other than that, I mean, I don't really know what else would be my top games. I really enjoyed... Final Fantasy Tactics. That was another great game. I loved that one.
Well, you and I really enjoyed playing Charlie Murder. Like, I don't know how many years ago that was.
How many years?
I don't know how many years ago that was, yeah.
I was probably about 2 or something like that.
Yeah, 2 or 3.
But, yeah, I mean, that one was fun, but that's definitely not on my top.
It's not something that you'd play on your own.
No, I also, Dynasty Warriors, that was a series I loved. I don't know why. I know it's a hack and slash. There's no point to it. There's nothing to do with it. I just enjoyed it.
Which one was your favorite? 20, 50, 756?
Well, currently I own number 2, number 3, number 4, 5, 6, 7. And I think, did 8 come out? I don't know. In any case,
I feel like it would have come out like 3 years ago.
I own all of them, and I've only played 3 and a little bit of 4. Yeah.
Would you say that they build off each other a lot?
I would say that they all go off of a very unique storyline that allows them to be very interesting.
And a very engaging fighting system.
Yeah, well, they're called hack and slash for a reason. But yeah, those were... I mean, I'd say those are some of my favorite, but I don't really know. Chrono Trigger was amazing, but... I only played that in like I think 2018 sorry
sorry when a little bit too far ahead
when I was 19 or something like that. And
I'm going to play this in the future, and let me tell you, it will be amazing.
It will be. Chrono Trigger was amazing, but yeah, it's probably like to that for my extent. It's none of these new video games because I don't really know.
These newfangled video games that the teenagers are playing, what with their Call of Duties and Halo.
Well, I have some of them. I don't really play them much though, and that's the problem because I can't.
I find it amazing that you buy all these games. Like he will send me pictures of the Amazon orders that he makes of like there's something like gotta be like 50 games. I feel like that's an over.
Well, probably not actually.
Well, I mean, sure, but like. Just like a huge number of games. Just like, oh, when are you going to play them? Never.
Okay, no, hold on. Let me explain this. The reason why I get these games, Kay, is because they're games that I would like to play. And so what happened is there was games that I wanted to purchase on my PS2 system when I was a huge gamer, but I could not afford them. Now, if I would like to go back and play them, they're very expensive. There was a dot hack series that I was into anime when I was like 16 or 17 or something like that. Anyways, there was a dot hack series that the video games were about $40 per video game for the PS2 when I originally wanted to purchase them. So they were $40 each. There was like 4 or 5 of them. I can't remember. And now there is, if you want to go out and buy them, the first one is about $40 or something. The second one's about 80, I think. The third one's like another 80. The fourth is like $200.
I'm sorry, I'm trying my absolute best to hold in the fart, and it's just grumbling.
Please hold it in.
I am doing my absolute best. Please go on with your story.
In any case, so these games are very expensive, and I'm not going to buy them now because they're super expensive, right? But the whole point is I want to be able to have these games that I can play in the future when I want to. I don't want to have to spend all this money on them later on to to buy them to find out that they're going to be like $150 later on.
Would you say that's a kind of a victory for younger you, or like just in the fact that like you bought these games that like younger you would have loved to have played?
Yeah,
you have that opportunity whenever you want.
In a sense, yeah. I mean, it's yeah, pretty much. I would say that yes. It has to do with that, and then also the fact that I would like to spend time to play video games. I try to, but it's for me. I find that when I'm sitting down, now that I'm an adult, right? I find that I'm sitting down and I'm playing a game for like an hour or 2 hours or something like that, and I feel like it's so non-productive, and I can accomplish something else that's way more important. I do so much other things that I'm up and about and I'm moving, and I feel those are a lot more productive than sitting down and playing a video game. It's not to say that I don't like it. It's just that I find it hard because I get antsy from sitting down for so long from doing that, right? I don't usually... I'm sitting at work for 7 or 8 hours or whatever it is a day, but I feel like that's a little bit different because I'm actually working, and I do get up and about, and I walk around and everything at work. But when you're playing a video game, you're sitting and you're playing a video game the entire time. You're concentrating on that one thing, and you are spending all your time doing that. It's fine. I will do that, but it's just I find it a little bit hard because I get a little bit, I feel like I should be up and about doing something. I mean, that might change in the future. I don't know, because it definitely changed from when I was 18. Like when I was in high school, I was a huge gamer. I was such an avid gamer. I had this game called Guild Wars, that was for PC, and I played it so much that I accumulated, I think it was, 1,300 hours or something like that on my account. So I accumulated a lot of hours, and I played it with one of my friends there, and we played for such a long time. But I don't have that drive to sit there for that long anymore. I have a lot of other games that I did play that I spent a lot of time on too. RPGs take a long time. They usually take it depends, but they usually take between, give or take, 20 hours to 60 hours, maybe 70 to 100. And I used to be able to sit down and do those. But I also was I was a chunkier kid when I was younger. But
yes, youth.
yeah, I was a chunkier kid until I was about 18. And then I started getting interested in the gym and everything, and I started working out. And I'm by no means like a muscle head or something like that.
It is amazing how many people think that like someone that goes to the gym is like a meathead. That somehow like going to the gym and growing muscles somehow makes you stupider. As I just used the word stupider.
Stupider, yeah. Yeah, no. I actually do spend a long time at the gym. I really enjoy it. But that's something that I do now. I feel like when I'm at the gym, I'm being productive because I'm doing something. I'm working on myself. I'm working on my health. It adds to my future, right? Whereas if I'm sitting down and I'm playing a video game, it doesn't really add anything of value to me, which I feel like that's probably where subconsciously I'm thinking that it doesn't do anything for me, whereas going to the gym does something.
Yeah, and that's totally fine. I don't quite know where I get my enjoyment of video games from. I mean, like clearly there's some sort of accomplishment in there, and the fact that that's just kind of fun for me. And yeah. I guess I don't know. I guess I don't have a whole lot to do that's really productive. I find that I have a difficult time focusing, especially if it's on something that I find I tend to have a lot of difficulty with, like if I'm working on schoolwork, or actually that's about it, because I don't have a whole lot of projects or many other hobbies. I've been in school for education, yet there isn't a whole lot of, I guess you could say, practical application for that. Not like a trade, where you could be like, if you're a carpenter, like you could build something and be like, oh, I'm gonna find this blueprint online, I'm gonna build this. Meanwhile, as an educator, you're just like, I work with children. There aren't any children around, so my job is done.
Yeah. So just a little tidbit there. Josh, he has taken his education in university, so yep. He is on his final year.
I am in my 6th year out of 5. I'm
whatever.
I'm going a little bit above and beyond.
Yeah, so he's doing practicum right now, where he goes to classes and he basically teaches younger children, obviously high school, whatever age, but he teaches them in the manner that he's supposed to, obviously.
Yes, and create lessons in order to enrich their lives with information. Excuse me. I really didn't want to let out a giant burp there after I've been told many times not to.
Yeah, he burps quite often, so we tell him to just hold it in.
And it doesn't work.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, I feel that for you though, the thing is like much the same to you as to everyone else. Video games is a hobby. It's something that you do to enjoy, and I totally understand that. I get that. I don't feel like you're. I don't feel like for you that's really a different thing. Like everyone seems to enjoy video games, even I do. But I think it's more so an oddity for me in the fact that I have trouble playing them. Like I don't think you're really changing from the norm. I think that's very normal that everyone sits down to play video games for a long time.
Well, I think the difference between you and me is that whenever you're playing video games, you're thinking to yourself, there are things that I'd rather be doing. Meanwhile, while I'm doing it's just this is the thing I want to do most, which I'm a little bit ashamed to say, but it's for me it's a guilty pleasure. It's something that
It's not even guilty.
Well, I know that it's become far more, I guess, accepting. But living in a house with my parents who they look they let it happen, obviously, but they look strongly down on it, especially when it comes to my brother. Excuse me. Because he's my brother, he's really enraptured in the world of video games and TV shows and whatnot. So he's more in his made up worlds than he is in the real world. And shit, where was I going with this? I was talking about the reason why I feel kind of ashamed talking about video games with people who aren't so much into it is because in my house it's kind of been frowned upon by my parents. And so I feel kind of ashamed about sharing it with people. I was in a university class and I was playing the role of a student who was having difficulty learning, and I would have 4 teachers that are trying to come up with ways to make class more interesting to me. And so one of the questions they asked me was do you enjoy video games? And I was very much embarrassed to say yes. And whenever they're let's incorporate video games into this lesson to try to make you enjoy it more. It felt worse and worse to hear them say that, because I grew up in a house that was just you shouldn't be playing these video games. They're so violent. They're gonna take over your life. And so it was pretty difficult to kind of live in a house like that.
Yeah, I have a feeling that for you at least, video games kind of has a stigma attached to it, because from your point of view at least, your parents obviously frowned down upon it and everything. My parents never did. My parents they never said stop playing video games or anything. They never really paid attention to that.
Oh yeah, your parents are super cool.
Well, in any case, yeah, so they never really forced me to do anything, which was, it kind of helped me in my favor eventually, but they never really told me to stop playing video games or anything, and I feel like that kind of helped me, because I played a lot of video games in my youth, and now that I'm older, I don't really play them as much because it's whatever, right? But yeah, I feel that I feel that actually helped me, that they let me play a lot when I was in my youth, and now it doesn't really matter to me anymore as much.
I think it's really different between different people, because I have a feeling that if I lived in if for me I didn't have any restrictions to the amount of video games I played, I was allowed to play a lot on the weekends, but during the week until Friday after school, I was not allowed to play at all. And I feel like having that restriction definitely maybe think about what I do with the rest of my time, and when eventually I was becoming a bit more independent, making my own decisions, I could be all right, I've played this enough for today. I need to do something that's actually productive, and to know when it is appropriate to sit down and have that time to myself. Because I know that if during the summer, on a weekend or something, if I spend the entire day playing video games, like I feel just awful. Like it is not something I enjoy anymore, and I feel like I haven't earned it. Meanwhile, if like on the weekend I do a lot of work, I go to the gym, I come home in the evening, sit down and play some video games. It feels really good. Like I feel like I really earned it, and then I enjoy it more than if I had done that all day.
I think I still think that's a little bit attached to the stigma that your parents kind of instilled in you when you were young. Because our parents never really grew up with video games or anything, it's very different. It's a very different world, right? The concept of video games is basically foreign to them because I think don't quote me on this once again, but I think Pong came out in like 1984 or something like that, maybe a little bit earlier, but
Was it that long ago?
it was a while ago. But they came out with video games only in like the 80s, I think, maybe late 70s. Like I said, I'm not 100% cultured in this, so don't quote me on it, but yeah, I think they only came out with it in like the early 80s. So the concept of video games is super new. Like I said, it's not something that your parents really grew up with. So because they don't understand it, it's a stigma to them that they frown down upon. And I feel like that's how it is with a lot of older folks. I'm not saying everyone, obviously, because some people naturally they actually enjoy them. They've tried them and they spend time doing them. Blah blah blah. But I just feel like there is kind of probably a little bit of a stigma. It's much like with the job market, I would say. Our parents, when they were younger, or our grandparents or whatever, have, like, they in the current market at least, there is a lot less jobs than there used to be. Because of the Industrial Revolution, there was a lot of jobs that were available. They would hire you straight out of high school. You don't need an education or anything. Nowadays, there's way less jobs. All our jobs are being exported overseas or something like that. Having a university degree doesn't even matter. I'm not doing anything in my degree. And I feel like we're just becoming overeducated in stuff, and it's not useful. Like it's making you more intelligent, which is great. That's what we want. But they're not allowing us to expand on that and to create jobs with that, because all of them are either going overseas or they're closing a lot of plants or whatever. Like in Ontario, there was I think it was a Ford plant. They
Like you mean Ford the car company?
Ford, yeah, Ford, the vehicle company. I believe they were creating cars or whatever in there. Milton, Ontario, if I can recall correctly. And they had an assembly line, and their assembly line was of mechanics, and they were creating these cars, they were making them, and the mechanics were getting paid $40 an hour. That's a great living wage that the mechanics were making. And then all of a sudden, when the plant closed and it went, I think, down south into the States or even overseas, I don't really know where it went. But all these mechanics that were working there, making $40 an hour, they had to go to like employment places and everything. And all they could find, I remember this clear as day, all they could find was $12 an hour, just retail jobs where they would, they can sell stuff at like little stores, little strip malls or whatever. They could not find jobs that they could use their mechanics at.
Yeah, that is an awful demotion.
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't live off of that. You're just going from $40 an hour, which is a huge salary, right? I don't even know how much it is, but it's probably in the I think it's $80,000 to $90,000 a year or something like that, to $12 an hour, which like $30 or $30,000 a year.
Yeah,
That's a huge decrease, and especially if you have to support a family.
It is amazing how like a degree or something like that you've spent many years and many thousands of dollars like training for and receiving can end up amounting to nothing. I remember like in my education classes, one of my teachers, he was telling us a story about, I forget where he was from exactly, but I think he was from the Middle East. And I think he was either a doctor or a teacher, and like he was highly renowned back in his country. And like he had all these degrees, and he had a doctorate, and then he came to, I think it was either Canada or he went to America, and the only job that he could get was a taxi driver. And so no matter how amazing he might have been back in his country, like it meant nothing in North America.
Yeah. Yeah, it sucks. That's, well, and like another issue like that is I remember when I was going to university, I was taking a psychology course, and this girl that I used to sit with, she said that her sister had a master's in psychology, and she was out of work. She wasn't. She couldn't find a job. It's because there's so many people that have overqualifications and stuff, and places either they just don't want to hire someone who's overqualified when they can pay someone a lot less, or we don't. The job's just not available. It's a really tough world right now. I mean, there's a lot less jobs because things are becoming automated. I've heard the opposite argument where there's a lot more computer technicians that are needed because they need to be able to fix these computers that are at an assembly line or something like that. Assembly lines now, for the most part, they have a lot of computer automated like programs and whatnot that will create these vehicles for them instead of actual mechanical engineers rather, instead of them actually putting the cars together. And I mean, it's just the world that we live in now. It's very shocking, right? Your parents, my dad, I was speaking with him, I think in I don't remember exactly when it was, but he said when he was 17 or 16 or something like that, he went and he bought his first car. Cost him $5.
Really?
Yep.
$5. Well,
$5. Yeah.
Well, like, how much would that be now? Like, I don't know what what inflation is like and how much it's worth back then, but $5 then still sounds like not that much.
No, it wasn't. I think he said it was. I think he said that it was probably like a week's worth of pay or something like that. Like it was substantially lower than what it would be now. Yeah, exactly. Josh is making a frowning face.
That's not why I'm making the face.
Okay, well, in any case, it was substantially less, and he bought his first car for $5, and like you could not do that now.
Nope.
Not a lasting car at least.
Yeah, there are a lot of things you could have done back then that you can't do now. I remember, like, my grandpa passed away about 17 years ago, and he bought himself and his wife a burial plot, like, way back then, and at that point it cost him a few $100s. But now grave plots are how much do grave plots cost now?
Oh, I don't know.
Hold on, I'm gonna look it up.
They're pretty pricey.
What is this? Dig on the phone here.
I think like they're a burial or something like that's probably in the tens of thousands to 15. I really don't know. They're pretty pricey though.
Yeah, just doing a quick Google search. Google is amazing, isn't it?
Oh, technology I was just complaining about it, but yeah,
he was telling me not to bring out the phone in the middle of the podcast, and here I am.
Yeah, but having technology at the end of your fingertips, I mean, that's a revolutionary thing, right?
Oh yeah, here we go. A good turnout in the case of a traditional burial can start at around $5,000, but can quite easily amount to a cost of $15,000.
Okay.
I suppose it also depends on, like, if you want to buy a casket. I mean, I would assume you would have to buy a casket. You can't just be lowered in, corpse and all.
Well, I mean, yeah. It depends on a few things. It kind of funny is I remember hearing a little while ago, Costco was actually selling caskets.
What?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they were selling caskets. I also saw this thing. I don't know if this was true or not, but they were showing that Costco was selling some body bags.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, hold on.
Yeah.
Okay, caskets. Okay, as ridiculous as it is, I can understand the casket, but isn't a body bag generally something like
For homicide?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like for CSI or whatever who takes care of that. Like, body bags is not something for public use.
Oh yeah, I know. Like I said though, take that with a grain of salt, right? It was just something like a picture that I saw someone that took online. So online you can easily manipulate stuff. Photoshop is your friend.
Photoshop is wonderful. It's
But yeah, and actually going back to this that we were talking about cars that are like stupidly cheap and stuff. I will say this though. I think I've told you about this before, but I'm just gonna reiterate it anyways. You can still buy cheap cars nowadays. They're pretty bad pieces of junk.
They
though.
are complete garbage.
Yeah.
I remember back. Oh, I don't know how long ago this was. This was when I was back in high school. I think I might have been 17 or something. My next door neighbor, who was also a friend of mine, he bought a complete junker of a car for like $50, and like he knew this car was not going to last, so he took me and another friend to just drive around and completely wreck it. I remember one thing we did was like we were driving in his driveway, and like we live in the country somewhere, and so like there were lots of trees around, and so like he was driving in his driveway, and we were just about to pass a tree, and so his friend who was in the passenger seat just like threw the car door open to like smash it into the tree, which then smashed into the car, and you could never open that side again. It was possibly the stupidest thing I had been a part of, and yet, you know, I was still there. I was desperate to have friends.
Okay, so actually, it's funny that you mentioned that because that
What?
brings this up.
What, being desperate to have friends?
No, we could get to that in a minute
Okay.
if you want.
I'd prefer not, but please continue.
Okay. There was this time that my cousin, I went out with him, and his name is Justin, and we went out. He told me about this car that him and his friends were gonna trash, right? And they got it for like $150. So it was a cheap junker of a car. But what they normally did was they took the car, and they live out in the country as well, and they usually drove it like in a farmer's field or something like that, and they just drove it over bumps and everything, and they just had fun with it until it broke, and then they brought it to the wreckers or something like that. So it was all in good fun for them apparently, but he wanted me to film this, so I was like, all right, well, I got a film degree and everything. I got my own equipment for filming.
Yes,
What
putting it to good use.
Oh, what can go wrong, right? Well, that's the first wrong assumption there. There was a few things that was wrong with that. So I went there and I started filming, and I was actually filming in the back seat of the car, and I strapped a GoPro to the front of the car, inside, obviously attached to the windshield.
Yeah, I was gonna say on the outside it seems like a really bad idea.
Yeah, no, they were idiots.
Not
Still
gonna
are,
trust them with
not
that.
were.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were driving, and they were going over these, like, they had this path that they followed, which was totally fine, but they were going over rocks that were about like 3 feet tall, and it was a sheer drop after that.
Oh.
So they bottomed out the car very, very quickly, and like the shocks were horrible and everything. It was just a bad drive, right? And you see my camera was just like shaking up and down, and it was horrible filming. Very funny, but horrible.
Yeah.
And so anyways, what happened is they drove it around a few laps, and the car eventually died. So what happened is my cousin, he was like, oh, well, this thing is still pretty brand new. We got to do something with it. Like, we spent $150. We got to get our money's worth out of it. So, yeah.
Pretty brand new.
Pretty brand, well, for them at least.
Yeah, it is.
So anyway, in any case, he was a genius, and he wanted to make a sunroof in the car. Yeah, well, it was a very, very old vehicle, and it had a full roof. So he was like, we really need to make a sunroof. So he went into his friend's garage.
Yeah.
And he found this massive crowbar.
No.
It was maybe like, it was quite thick, right?
Yeah.
And it was really long too. So he took it out and he was like, dude, watch this. Start filming. So I was like, all right, whatever. I trust him to be an idiot. So I started filming, and so he took the crowbar and he started jabbing it through the top of the car.
Yeah.
And he was trying to jump on it to break it open so that he could make a sunroof in there. He didn't luckily do that, but So after he did that a few times and he made a bunch of holes on the top, it had a lot of good air holes. No one could definitely suffocate in that car. In any case.
Thank God.
Yeah. So, in any case, after he finished doing that, he was like, I still feel like we didn't get our money's worth out of this vehicle. So they went out and they smashed up the side of the car and everything. They tried ripping off the doors. That didn't work. And they had a bunch of fun with it, right? And so, after that, he still didn't feel like they got their money's worth out of it. So they took a shotgun and they shot the car. I didn't shoot it. I was filming still, but they shot the car with a shotgun. One of them hit the engine. It didn't blow up or anything, but
yeah, it's not the movies.
no, yeah. They shot the car a few times, and they still tried turning it on. Like, that was a stupid move. They shouldn't have done that, but they tried.
That's very dangerous.
They tried turning the car on, and obviously it didn't start. The coolant was leaking out everywhere. There was holes in it. I
hope they were like, oh man, why isn't the car working?
It was just an awful thing. I actually have all this in a video, believe it or not, right? So if anyone ever did really want to see this or something, I'm look for it.
I do really want to see this.
I don't know where it is. I'll have to look for it through my stuff.
I guess we'll see it. We'll see it 5 years.
And then, well, that's actually not the end of the story, though.
Oh, okay.
What happened is the car was destroyed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, I still feel like we didn't get our money's worth out of this after they shot it with a shotgun about 10 times.
That's amazing. The fact that they... You're not going to get your money's worth out of anything if you beat the crap out of it.
Yeah, no. Anyways, so what happened is his buddy had a tractor.
I like where this is going.
And they also had, I think it was because it's in the country, I think there was an old house that was created, and it was probably destroyed at a certain point because they had this giant open cement pad. So for some reason they had that there. So anyways, they took the car and they moved it with the tractor,
mm-hmm.
and then they flipped the car upside down, and they flipped it, I think, once or twice. I can't remember.
I'm sorry. How did they flip the car with the tractor?
With the tractor, yeah.
Like how?
You know how a tractor has the scoop?
Oh, okay. I was thinking like a lawnmower.
No. Like, it was an actual full-size tractor.
Okay, that makes far more sense. I was just imagining like a small John Green.
No. This was like one of the massive ones that you see farmers use.
Okay, yeah.
So they took one of those and they flipped the car, and then they're like, "Oh, dude, come film the inside. We'll sit on the inside of the car. It'll look so good." And then we'll be like, "Oh, yeah, I guess this car is done with, right?" So I was like, "Oh, you guys are idiots." Okay, I'll film this. So they both snuck into the car somehow. I don't know how. It was very narrow. The top was crushed. And they both got into the vehicle, and they tried buckling up. And you could see their heads were like sideways while they were trying to sit down upside down. And then they were like, "Oh yeah, this car's pretty toast. All right, let's get out of here." And so they
So they got in there and they didn't go through with that.
Well, they tried turning on the car, actually.
Well, what I mean is, like, they didn't crawl in and then get flipped again.
No, they didn't. No, they're not that dumb.
Oh wait.
They are pretty dumb.
Sorry. I guess I misinterpreted. I thought you were saying what happened was that they got in the car and then got flipped by the tractor.
No, sorry.
Okay,
they got...
That would have been, like, the dumbest thing.
They probably could have died. Not probably. They would have died. So yeah, what happened though is they left the car. The tractor flipped the car, and then they went back in after that to make it look like they flipped the car or something like that.
Oh yeah.
And in any case, though, they were in there and they tried getting out, and I was filming them, and they were like, "Oh yeah, let's leave," and they were having a hard time getting out. And so I was filming them after, and I noticed both of them were bleeding from their hands because they had to crawl through all this glass, right?
Of course.
And I was like, "You guys are such idiots." And so my cousin was like, yeah, this was all right. Usually we get a lot more time out of it, though. Next time I'll flip one for you." So he wants to go off of a ramp, and he wants to flip his car. Like, he wants to get a crapper, and he wants to flip it, and he wants me to film it next time.
Like this is still something he wants to do.
He legit still wants to do that.
Are you goddamn kidding?
I am not filming that. I don't want to film him die.
No, that... I oh my god, I don't understand how anybody can get that into their head. That is insane.
It was funny to watch, though. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, that right there is a true redneck. Yeah. Yeah. So that's about that.
Yeah. And on that note, I think we're going to cap it off with this episode. Thank you for joining us on Two Guys Podcast. My name is Josh.
And I am Ryan. We will just mention that, once again, go get your favorite milk steak from your grocer. They are fantastic. I had one yesterday, and it was great.
And remember to spare and neuter your cats. Good night.
Have a good night, everyone.
Yes.